with burns, others with broken bones from being trampled, and it becomes just another news story of the day. It is clear that what's been called the new normal is anything but. Prime Minister Theresa May is now a seasoned leader when it comes to this. It is the fifth terror attack on her watch in the United Kingdom this year, including these horrific scenes that we all remember too well from Manchester and from Westminster Bridge. She has raised her country's terror alert once again to the highest level. It is now at critical, which means the authorities there believe that another attack in London could be imminent. May knows that this attack is not just a crime. It is a kind of cancer in the bloodstream, and it needs to be eradicated.
We do need to ensure that we're dealing with not just the terrorist threat, but with the extremism and the hate that can actually incite that terrorism.
So President Trump, addressing the Air Force today on their anniversary, said this.
America and our allies will never be intimidated. We will defend our people, our nations, and our civilization from all who dare to threaten our way of life.
Here now, Texas Congressman Mike McCaul, chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. Good to see you, Chairman. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Martha.
Your thoughts on what we saw this morning in London?
Well, like you said, it's almost becoming the new norm, and it shouldn't be. These things happen so often. It's the fifth attack in the UK alone this year. We've had 110 ISIS-related plots and incidents in Europe since 2013. I think it's interesting, TATP was an explosive used in this case, the same one used in Manchester, Paris, and Brussels. The Islamic State did take credit for this, saying the soldiers of the Caliphate attacked crusaders detonating bombs. They are clearly ramping up their activities now. As we squeeze the Caliphate in Iraq and Syria, we're seeing these foreign fighters returning along with this massive migration into Europe, and I think Europe is a very vulnerable spot right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be. Let's pull up the second tweet that we have on our list from President Trump today. He was speaking out quite a bit about this. He says, loser terrorists must be dealt with in a much tougher manner. The Internet is their main recruitment tool, which we must cut off and use better. He went on to say the travel ban into the United States should be far larger and more specific. But stupidly, that would not be politically correct. What do you think about those?
Well, you know, the New York Police Department calls it losers to lions. This is a radicalization process. So the president really is on to something here when he talks about losers to lions. He also is on to something when I agree with his assessment of the Internet. These guys, unlike al-Qaeda, ISIS has really used the Internet to recruit, train, and radicalize from within. We need to stop this jihadist material on the Internet that they've used so well. And I think in terms of the travel ban, I've always said we need to ramp up our vetting in high-threat areas to make sure that these terrorists, while they're going to Europe, they're one flight away from the United States, and we don't want them coming into the homeland.
Yeah. You know, in terms of the travel ban, do you think that the White House will get what it wants on that front? Clearly, the president, based on, these statements and others, wants it to be, really tougher rather than looser.
I think, the initial implementation had some errors, if you will. I think the administration fixed that in terms of people that are legally entitled to be in the United States. So I think that will be before the Supreme Court, and the executive in chief, the commander in chief, has enormous powers under the Constitution, I think, when it comes to immigration and denying terrorists a safe haven, both abroad and in the United States. So my committee, we're also have a visa security bill to put ICE agents in all embassies and consulate offices in these high-threat areas so we can do better vetting over there to ensure they don't come here.
Yep. Obviously, you're very deeply involved in this topic of Homeland Security. There's some discussion that you might be the person to take over for General John Kelly, who, of course, is now the chief of staff at the White House. Is that a position that you're interested in, or one that you think will become yours?
Well, this is really the president's decision, and I'm, it's wherever I can serve my country the best. I do have, I think, a strong background